All right, how's it going, everybody? This is Ismortah, and this evening I have an ELEMANCERS game project update for you guys during my board game session stream. Sundays 8 p.m. I'm sorry, Sundays 7 p.m. BST. So what you see before you are some awesome minis from ELEMANCERS Light and Dark, which I was finally able to get printed and groomed and print ready for you guys to show off. Now, I've showed off these models before electronically, what the models look like, but I wanted you guys to be able to see them printed and how they look and be able to hold it. Now, before I get into it, I just want to check the audio. That way you don't not miss any cool content that I'm sharing. So I'm just going to check the Twitch feed right quick. If you just give me 60 seconds. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. All right, so it looks like this sounds good enough. So I'll go ahead and get started. As you can see from this, I'm using it on a phone that's on a tripod, so the sound is going to be a little bit lower than normally when I broadcast from my computer. So I'll try to project. But yeah, so again, this is ELEMANCERS Light and Dark miniatures that are going to be available during the Kickstarter, which is going to be January 2020. The exact day is tentative, but there'll be more information on that toward the end of this year, as far as the exact date. So what I have here are miniatures printed for prototyping. Again, there's going to be a little bit of variance after getting the funds from the Kickstarter and doing mass production, just because they'll be doing a different process. So let me explain what I mean by that. So typically when you do mass production, it is injection molding. So you have a mold they create. That's why there's a great upfront cost for doing these miniatures. But that's also why it gets less expensive as you have more units that you're making for customers, because then you're just filling those molds with ink and dyes to create the plastic. Whereas the miniatures that you see here, these are using a process that was called MJF, multi-injection fusion. What does that mean, mumbo jumbo? So multi-injection fusion, what that uses is you have an object and you're cutting away, as opposed to if you did filament printing, which is the most common for 3D printing, that you just have a filament that you see it keeps wrapping and layering and creating the image. This, instead, you have this block of this mass, and then a laser cuts away at it and works its way down, as opposed to building and having nothing and building it up. So the advantage of this process is you can support more detail, but obviously not to the detail you can get from doing injection molding, only because with injection mold, you're just filling a mold, which is less prone to breaks as far as when you're trying to cut or build from scratch. Because if you have something that has small pieces, like for example these wings, but it's doesn't have enough support while it's being constructed, it could break in the middle of the process. So that's why comparing these models, like this is what the look's going to be, but there's going to be a slight variance because they're different processes, different materials that are used. So in more particular, again, this is MFJ, these 3D prints, and these we see here is 50 millimeters, all of them, distance-wise, the longest distance. So for example, These bases are 50 millimeters. The length of this feather is 50, and the longest length of this heart is 50. So 5 centimeters. The reason why I do this in millimeters is because manufacturing off-seas or internationally, the international standard is the metric system, obviously. And then these are grayscale. So originally when I shared my footage of these electronic 3D models, you saw that some of these were black, some of these were white, and others were gray. And I'm going back and forth on it, and again, that just depends on the cost of doing so. If it was just minimum getting these made, these would probably be all grayscale, and then possibly I would say a stretch goal would be having these in different colors, white, black, and gray. But granted, the white and the black won't be pure white and black, only because just like you know from art, if you do something that's pure 100% white or 100% black, actually makes it hard to see the image because you're not getting any shadows or you're not getting light, so you're not getting detail, so it's hard for you to get a 3D interpretation of the image, and it looks weird because even when you look at something 2D, you're processing in your brain in 3D, right? Because you're using two eyes. So that's to be determined, but these are the final sculpts for all of these, and as you can determine from previous shots of gameplay, is a lot of these models, the art is actually made from the models themselves. The models were made first and then have my artist match the look of it, and that's why this is so closely aligned. But enough talking, let me get to showing you all these pretties. All right, so I have some of the things I'll go through, but I want to get to showing you the goods first. Because it did a lot of process stuff already. All right, so I'll go from right to left. So this first one here is the Light Faction Citadel. Now, the design choice for this is I wanted to have a lot of rounded structure elements to it, so it had an organic look, as opposed to the next one I'll show you that has more rigid and hard angles. Because this is the Light Faction. This is about building stuff and being welcoming, so you want something warm and rounded looking. And see, it's a multi-tiered citadel. And now the next one is the Dark Faction Citadel. And this one you see, unlike its predecessor, has, instead of a rounded look, it's got sharp angles, pointed ends. And it's, you know, more menacing because it goes up as opposed to be welcoming and being spread out. And this one has a symmetry to it, whereas the other one doesn't have as much symmetry. This has symmetry at all angles, at 3 angles, as opposed to 3 sides, as opposed to the Light Faction Citadel that has symmetry only in one division. And so these citadels, game-wise, will represent, actually will be used for different game modes that's not released yet for ELEMANCERS, which will be available in the expansion that's going to be in the Kickstarter. The expansion is going to have additional content for the game. It's going to have additional cards of all types, and I'll have these miniatures exclusive to the expansion, as well as access to these buildings as part of game modes. And one of the most exciting game modes that's also going to be part of the expansion is a solo mode. So you have these variants that you can play by yourself, as well as additional game modes, which are still being ironed out, including King of the Hill and Assault. By Assault, think something like if you're playing a first-person shooter, FPS, Do you have teams alternating trying to hold a position versus a team trying to take that position, right? With the idea that these other modes are based around quicker gameplay and less of the lore that's in the core game. So you can just jump in, blast each other, and jump out. Next up we have are two of the legendary weapons that you find in the core game of ELEMANCERS Light and Dark. The first one here is for the Dark faction. This is the heart of Leximog. Leximog being one of the primal gods, which is one of the miniatures that I'll show you here in a second. And this is the heart. So as you complete your saga set and Adventure Lore deck, what you're looking for is actually Leximog's still beating heart, which is the primal god of dark. And so this is a miniature of the heart. Next one, respectfully, is for the Light faction, which is the Feather of Light. I'm sorry, the Heart of, the Heart of Darkness, the Feather of Light, respectively. And this is the Feather of Umezoa. That's the primal god of light. And this is the feather. Now, these two miniatures are used for additional content, which is still being ironed out. But the idea is these miniatures won't be part of something that's purchasable. So like for the expansion that includes these two citadels would be something that you purchase. But the idea for these miniatures here is they're either going to be promotional material during the Kickstarter if you back, that you'll just get it for free if you acquire this game during Kickstarter. Or these will be add-ons. So as I hit certain stretch goals, they'll be unlocked. They can acquire these. But the idea is these are like bonus items to just make the game more cool and more aesthetic. Now, the last set I have here are the legendary creatures in the game. So, the first one we have here, be careful picking her up, is Umezoa. Now, what this represents is actually the embodiment of Umezoa. And what I mean by that is in the game, your avatar, each clan having an avatar that embodies a certain element, that your avatar will actually turn into Umezoa. And this is the embodiment of Umezoa. I mean, like, this is what she looks like, but without her vast powers. And that's what you're trying to get the final key for in the game, is you're trying to find the spell to give the power back to Umezoa to fully resurrect her to her status as a primal god. And so you have to find the spell, translate the spell because it's in Draconic, and then have your team get to the Hollow of Fate and do your thing, bring her back to life. And this is her miniature, which came out really awesome. So she's got 2 sets of wings and 2 swords, and she's lunging off that rock, charging in the battle. Now, the wingspan does go greater than 50 millimeters, but the base 50 millimeters. That's what's most important, because since all pieces in this game largely are flat, that you just want to make sure that it doesn't take up the entire location tile when you place it on the game board. It's still being determined on the final placement of how it's used, whether she's gonna be taking up the center of the location tile, or placing these miniatures between 2 tiles along the borders, so that then you just have her face whichever one she's engaging with. That's still being tested during beta, but this is definitely the size that ideally want to go for with a miniature. I mean, obviously, if you do the miniatures bigger, you get more detail, but then it gets more costly for the end user, and then also if it takes up more real estate, it's hard to get on the game board. But so I'm possibly entertaining multiple different sizes, not smaller, if anything bigger. Also, the bigger something is, the less it's likely it is to break, get sturdier. But these here, like I said, are 50 millimeter in diameter. All right, next one up is Leximog, which is the primal god of dark. This character, as opposed to being a angelic Amazon, this is more like a Cthulhu nightmarish creature. You see, it has horns, tentacles for its multiple feet, has a large rack of horns, spikes along its back, and actually mouths along the side of his body. You see there's one there, and I believe there's two on this side. Yeah. And he's rocking a large Sharpie weapon. So this guy, again, is the primal god of dark, Leximog. And similar thing, the dark faction, similar steps, is trying to resurrect the god, and this is the embodiment of Leximog. The avatar actually turning into the form of the creature. And it's cool because instead of moving around a standee, which looks awesome, you can move around this even more awesome miniature if you upgrade. What I mean by upgrade? So as I said, these two will be ideally are going to be part of the expansion. These two are going to be either add-ons or promotional materials or stretch goals. These three here are actually going to be part of the deluxe version of the game. So for the deluxe edition of the game, it's not going to add any additional content like the expansion. It's just going to add novelty items to make the game look fucking cool. So it's going to be the first thing you need to unlock to get miniatures from the core game, as well as some additional novelty items, which I will reveal later this year. But it's going to be all novelty stuff that just makes the game look cooler. But it's going to have nothing mechanical. Whereas this expansion is going to have additional game content as well as novelty content. All right, so the last one we have up is Bronzu, the dragon here. Bronzu, if you're familiar with the word, actually means balance, and that's what she represents, is actually the dragon of balance. Because this dragon in the game lore was born at the Hollow of Fate, the nexus of elemental energies and magics, and therefore actually combines the elements of all the elemental magic in the realm. So she's a balance of light and dark. She comes into play when the first clan unlocks one of their legendary weapons, like for example the embodiment of Leximog. And then at that point you're competing with her as well as the other faction to get the most power tokens and most power in the realm to win the game. And this is one of the few pieces that was actually done backwards. This one, I did the art first, and then had it's sculpted based on the artistic image that was provided. I'm really happy with this guy. Looks awesome. Bronzu is a player-controlled miniature. When she comes into play at the end of every player's turn at that point, will actually control Bronzu. She has an AI to her movement, unless you get one of the legendary weapons that allows you to actually control her during your turn. All right, So that's the miniatures in a nutshell. Like I'm really happy with the quality of this, considering it was done with multi-jet infusion 3D printing. Again, that was printing with a block that a laser cuts as opposed to a filament that wraps and layers that you build up. But I'm really happy with these models. So I want to be able to show you what it actually looks like for reals. Like not just this ideal electronic version, but an idea of how it's going to look printed and in your hand and on the table. Cool. So what else do I have for you guys? So again, these miniatures, there's going to be more information released later this year as far as how you can get them and different variants to what the final quality is going to be during the Kickstarter or for mass production during at the Kickstarter. But so definitely tune in for more information at that time, and I'll definitely let you guys know. What I have planned up next is next weekend I'm going to Game Hole Con, which is the board game convention in Madison, Wisconsin. And so for that reason, I'm going to be there for 4 days, demoing the beta version of ELEMANCERS Light and Dark. I'm not going to be able to have another board game stream that weekend. And actually, I'm not going to be able to do it the following weekend either, because I'm going to be at Reno Pop Culture Con, which is the first one that's happening in Reno. So I'm going to be going there as a patron, but you know, go there and definitely promote ELEMANCERS, word of mouth, and just engage the awesomeness to be there with the comics and the artists and celebrities, just nerd out on pop culture, everything. It's going to be very cool. So the next board game stream I'm going to do will actually be 3 weekends from now. So it'll be like the weekend after November 8th. But it's cool. At that time, I will do also an ELEMANCERS update. So I'll let you know what happened at Game Hole Con, what's been going on with ELEMANCERS for the last month, and I'll let you know any other cool surprises that are coming your way. The next stream on Twitch, however, will be not till the following Monday, not next Monday, but the following Monday, because again, beginning of next week, I'm preparing for that showing of ELEMANCERS at Game Hole Con. So the Monday after next will be the next Twitch stream during my online card game stream. And that is most likely going to be something based around Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links. Like I said last time during that stream, I don't have any new decks to show. It's probably going to be me competitively showing you a deck or updates to existing decks that's been significant updates. So if you're interested in checking out Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, what that's all about, or seeing what's the latest and greatest, definitely tune in then next Monday, 7 p.m. PST. And definitely if you want to get continued updates on the game, I implore you to go to any of my social medias on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube to like, comment, and subscribe. You could also subscribe to the main website, www.shadowbalancegames.com, and you'll get automatically sent a monthly update on what's happening with the game, as well as the weekly updates, or bi-weekly or twice a week updates weekly for ELEMANCERS during the Kickstarter as well. So if you did at all interested in ELEMANCERS, I'll definitely check that out, so you make sure you don't miss any exclusive content. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to finally share with you some more really awesome pretties in the game, which I'm super excited to be able to have this part of the Kickstarter campaign as well. And thanks for viewing. Again, this is Ismortah, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.